this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. Team Tri-Fighters come together to upgrade their Gunpla, all in preparation for the big national tournament. And they do it all in the style of an old-school 80s montage. Their rivals aren't going to be kicking back exactly, they're going to be working hard too, and there's also a few new characters who are introduced in this week's episode. Not to mention, there was a brand new opening, a brand new ending. This week's episode of GBFT was pretty freaking exciting, so let's just talk about some of the highlights. First is that opening. It was great. It's just as good as the first, and I think I like the song just a wee bit more, and most of that has to do with the fact that the song itself has a very heavy trance feel and sound to it, and that just goes perfectly with Gundam. The song itself is called Just Fly Away by a band called Edge of Life, and it's pretty good, but the imagery is what really sells that intro. And what I love most about the intro is that it's basically a teaser for all the brand new Gunpla and characters that you're going to see in the show. Not to mention, we get our very first glimpses at Team Tri-Fighter's upgraded Gunpla, which look pretty freaking awesome. But let's talk about some of the teasers. First, I love the fact that we actually get to see the Gunpla of those characters, the triplets. They have these SD Gundams, which have this green color scheme, very militaristic looking, and what I love most about them is it looks like they're actually going to combine into some sort of three-headed green dragon Gunpla. Cannot wait to frickin' see that. There's also the character of Minato, who was teased a couple episodes ago that he was going to be trying to join the national tournament, and he actually does get shown off in this week's episode, and you do get some glimpses of his Gunpla in the intro, which looks like some sort of variant on the Zeta Gundam, but what I love most about it is the color scheme and the fact that it has a freaking lion's face on its chest, and that it can fire its fists like rockets. That is so old school super robot, and I absolutely love that. There's also this one brand new character who is introduced in this week's episode who goes by the name of Lucas. All fear Lucas! If only it was the same Lucas from the wizard who was using the power glove. It's so bad. But no, Lucas Nemesis is this brand new character who actually has ties to Team Nemesis from the first season, and he's going to be working for this academy, and apparently he is an ace pilot that even the Gunpla Academy themselves are fearing. But really, this whole episode was just a calm before the storm, and just getting to see all the different characters upgrading their Gunpla and just living about their normal lives. And there is, like I said, a very big montage scene where you see Team Tri-Fighters hanging out at Sekai's house, and then you have his sister who's having to deal with everybody constantly showing up, and before you know it, Gyanko and that one boxer dude shows up. It's ridiculous. It turns into a big full-blown party by the end of it. And they also give us our very first teaser of what their Gunpla are actually going to look like. My favorite thing about this week's episode, however, is that we're slowly getting closer to the mystery of Domon Kashu, who is no longer even hinted at or presented in the intro of the show. He was teased slightly in the first intro. We still haven't seen him. We still haven't seen Sekai's master. I'm still convinced it's going to be at least a caricature of Domon Kashu. It is kind of interesting, though, that in the intro you can actually see a silhouetted image of Sei Iori right in front of the trophy, and he was brought up in this week's episode, and really it's only a matter of time before they spring those characters on us, although it's probably not going to be until the finale of Gundam Build Fighters Try. The one character that really sticks out to me in this week's episode, however, is Junya, who apparently is a friend or a confidant of Akira Suga, and Suga does not want to work with this guy. And what's really interesting is that Junya is actually from the Jigenhao school, same as Sekai. He apparently has the same abilities as him, and I cannot wait to see what this guy is like and how he could possibly tie into the whole Domon Kashu thing as well. However, that's all completely up in the air. This week's episode was a lot of fun and even made a little bit of room for action. There was that scene during the Osaka qualifiers where we actually got to see Minato in action, which basically amounted to him shooting through a massive mountain and destroying this team. And again, we also just got like montages of all the different teams working on their Gunpla, and I just can't help but laugh at the Gabai Institute. They're the guys who continuously lose with their Zakus, and I can't imagine they're really going to do too much in this season. However, who knows? Maybe I'm going to be surprised. Maybe there's going to be some sort of twist. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen. I will say the ending didn't really do too much for me. It's not really my type of ending. It's very cute and very bubbly, and it's very just anime stereotypical. Just a lot of characters running around in ridiculous poses, falling through water, symbolism. You know what I'm talking about. Really nothing special there. Otherwise, this was still a pretty good episode. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try, another really good one here that I thought was actually going to be kind of a bummer at the very beginning, but again, pleasantly surprised me, especially with the prospects of all these brand new characters who just seem to keep popping up. This series introduces so many new characters and almost does so on an episode basis. It's kind of insane, but at the same time, it gets your attention. You want to know what these guys are about. And just the fact that the Gunpla Academy is freaked out about Lucas Nemesis and his Gunpla, which might be a variant on the Crossbone Gundam, that is awesome. One, I just love the design of the Crossbone Gundam. I love the design, the whole pirate theme it actually has going for it. It just looks so awesome. And even though we did see stuff like that in the first season, I still can't wait to see what this whole Lucas Nemesis kid is all about. And, you know, he just seems very unassuming, but those type of characters are always very surprising in these type of series. It's actually kind of crazy they didn't really focus too much on the upgrades that the main characters are going to be getting in the series. But I imagine that's because they want to show us that when they actually go into battle for the first time. And I actually do think that's a good idea because it'll just be much more memorable that way. And it'll be a lot more flashy. And we also got a chance just to see some of the other characters this week, which are awesome. I'm more interested in the character of Junya, though, than anything. But only because he has a strong connection to Sekai himself. And speaking of Sekai, they did make one mention of one of his big upgrades, which is going to be this brand new mode that he's going to be able to go through, which will allow them to be like the ace in the hole. Whenever they're about to lose, they'll use that ability, and Sekai will be able to bring out the full power of the Build Burning Gundam. So I can't wait to see where that's going. Otherwise, this was basically just a big setup episode and a calm before the storm, but I still think it was handled well. I loved the new intro. I'm kind of indifferent to the ending, but I'm really excited to see where this next half is going. And here's just a little theory I want to lay down, and it all goes back to that character of Junya again. And here's what it is. So Yuma had that one match with that one fighter who had that weird freaky composite Gundam, which very well could be a Dose Saga. It probably is. Except that hair that he had in that flashback still bothers me because it doesn't look like a Dose Saga's at all. It's long, it's black, it's shaggy, and it more resembles this character of Junya here. And I think that would be really interesting, just the fact that one of his rivals would again be someone else from the Jigen House school, and it would add another dynamic to the whole relationship between him and Sekai. And of course, they have to eventually bring in that whole Jigen House school storyline in eventually, especially with Sekai's master, who must be Domon Kashu. It must happen. I must see that. That's like the one thing that I really want to see more than anything in this entire show. I can't explain it. I'm a really big fan of G Gundam, and I just love the over-the-top nature of Domon Kashu. And G Gundam fans will be happy to see there were some Gunpla that was seen in that series in this week's episode during the Osaka battle, so you'll definitely appreciate that. So good episode, lots of good setup, some pretty cool Gunpla battles, lots of teasing, new characters, new intro, brand new ending, really exciting episode right here. It was a little slow in some parts, especially in the first half. Otherwise, I still think this was a pretty top-notch episode of this ridiculously awesome Gundam series. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Yes, my friends, a pretty solid episode that you should definitely check out if you've been following the series. Whether you are a casual fan of Gundam or you're deciding to jump in, check out this one right here. It is freaking awesome. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before you leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. What do you want to see from the second half of the series? What did you think of the brand new opening? Do you like the song? Do you like the imagery? What Gunpla do you want to see in battle? Remember guys, if you have not subscribed to my channel, you can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here in the top corner. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.